Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. How are we going? I'm getting super excited. It's 4:50 p.m. I have hot yoga in an hour and then I'm going to finish packing because at time of recording, I am going to Melbourne tomorrow to celebrate one of my best friends' 30th. Just going for the weekend, but I'm so excited because I do love Melbourne. However, oh my God, Brisbane right now is like 35 degrees, so hot. I love summer, not complaining. It is very humid though. Melbourne, on the other hand, is like 15 degrees. To all my Americans watching or listening, I'm so sorry. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but basically, I'm going from really hot to really freaking cold. So I need to pack for all occasions for going out, my friend's birthday party, and yeah, going out to eat. Melbourne is just so well known for all the good food and the good coffee. So I'm super excited for that. But I have an early flight. My flight leaves at like 6 a.m. So I need to get to the airport by 4:30. But basically, why I'm sharing all of this is because this podcast episode is kind of the last thing on my to-do list for this week before I go away. And going into next week, I really want to start to slow down a lot when it comes to my admin heavy work. So I've been smashing it out this week. I have had such a busy week, but it's been so productive. And productive is a bit of a theme we're going to be speaking about in today's podcast episode. But before we start, let's do an angel card pull. These are like I think this was the last episode I did these. I can't remember, but these are my affirmation deck. I'm feeling the pull to do, actually, I'm feeling the pull to do four cards. So I've never had that before. Pick a number between one and four, whatever comes to mind, let it land, let it sit, don't overthink it. While I'm shuffling these and tuning into the collective energy, what you need to hear, I would absolutely love it if you could hit the subscribe button, if you could click the thumbs up. It so supports my channel here on YouTube. And if you are listening to the podcast on Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen, I would appreciate you so much if you could leave a 5-star review, a written review. It really, really helps the podcast. I really appreciate it. I haven't told this story in a while, just while I'm shuffling, but I actually used to have a 5-star rating on my podcast. Then back in 2020, I went viral. Like when I say viral, global viral, you can just look up my name, type in Jess Pinelli on Google, and I got a shitload of haters, like so many haters. And so I got a lot of people who were just rating my podcast one, who had never listened, people who were leaving really, really nasty written reviews. There's actually still a few that are up on my iTunes and they're really nasty. Apple won't take them down. They took down a lot, to be fair to Apple. Sorry, yeah, Apple iTunes, yeah, the podcast. And they took down a lot, but they could not fix my star review. And because it's like being balanced by guys, when I told you I went super mega viral with a lot of haters, it's that many that like over the past couple of years the podcast has not been able to balance back out to its 5-star rating. I know it's rated 5 stars. I have you guys sliding into my DMs every single week. I had how many? There were, I lost count, but I had such an influx of you over the past 2 weeks sliding in, telling me how much you love the podcast. So let's get that rating back up to 5 stars. I know how much this is helping women. I know how much I got complimented 3 times. I just want to like shout out to these women on how practical the podcast is. And that's always going to be like a big thing for me to make it very practical. And in fact, I've got my sticky note in front of me. I'm actually recording in my office area, not in my spare bedroom. But I've got another practical podcast episode because you're so right. I hate podcast episodes that want to share with you something, but I'm like, okay, so what do I do with this information? I'm motivated, but what do I do? And we're going to speak about that a lot more in today's episode. But basically, that rant is I would appreciate it if you could if you can't be fucked writing a review, I get it, but I would appreciate if you could at least click the 5 stars. It really helps me. All right. I'm gonna pick four. I like to shuffle again. Okay, have you got your number? 1 to 4. Don't change it from whatever came up. My number ones. Your affirmation is my life is full of joy and happiness. So immediately what I'm sharing, what I'm downloading is remember all of the joy that is in your life. Remember all of the fun that is in your life. Remember how good life can be. That is number one. my number twos. Oh, your affirmation is I express loving thoughts. So I guess this is a reminder to just be in check with your thought process, be in check with any judgments you have with people in your life, random people on the streets, random people on the internet, and to always express loving thoughts. It doesn't mean you're never going to have a perceived bad slash negative thought or say anything mean whatsoever, but this is your check in with yourself, how you were speaking about other people and how you're perceiving other people, because ultimately it's how you perceive yourself. All right, my number threes. There is beauty in all that I see. And straight away, this can be applied to so many different things, but straight away, the word, the phrase body image just dropped into my mind. So I want you to do some mirror work. I want you to do some mirror work and remember that, yes, there is beauty all around the world, but there is beauty in yourself as well. I'm loving these. And then my number fours, never done a fourth one before. My number fours, your affirmation is, I like this. This day is perfect. I love this because it's a reminder that everything happens in perfect divine timing. It is happening as it is meant to, and you are able to take control. And this is a great segue into today's podcast episode. But you are able to take control of your life and what is happening to create your version of perfection. It doesn't mean we're trying to be a perfectionist. We're just embracing the fact that everything does happen in perfect divine timing. So I hope whatever number you chose, you resonated, something to take away for the rest of your week, for the weekend. Whenever you're listening to this, maybe it's the start of a new month you're listening to it, and maybe that can be your vibe and your theme. But let's get into today's episode. If you see me looking down here on YouTube, I'm looking at my sticky note. I've written very messy notes because I was sitting here. I like to ground myself every time I do a podcast episode. Even when I'm feeling very energetic, I just like to ground. I like to tune in. And sometimes at the last second, the last minute, my mind goes, no, why don't you speak about this instead? And that's actually what happened today. And I just started downloading all these ideas that I wanted to share. So we're going to roll with this because I think it's a great one for all of you who are high achieving and fall into the cycle of not knowing where to start when you want to start. And again, this isn't just for beginners, this isn't just for newbies, but this is for all of you at no matter what stage. I definitely, at the different stages, have felt that I'm like, okay, I'm at this stage, but I just don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to take the action. I don't know how to move the needle. And so I'm going to give you four things that are very practical that I promise you, if you actually start to implement in your life, just like everything I share with you, you are going to see a significant change in your life. And these are the things that I want you to come back to. Like this podcast episode, use it as something in your toolbox, an episode in your toolbox when you are feeling these moments at any time of year, any season in your business, in your personal life, your finances, your health, and your wellness, whatever fits for you, these are applicable. So, the very first one, oh my God. Okay, I'm laughing at myself. I have written something and I'm like, okay, what is that word? I get the gist, but I'm like, okay, what were you writing? Okay, we're gonna start with number one anyway. I don't know what I wrote. I'll decipher it later. But the first one is start to understand what is actually uncomfortable for you. So I'm going to give some really practical examples. If you own a business, if you find it very uncomfortable to be consistent with content, again, we're not getting into the logistics here, but consistency can be every day, it can be 5 times a week, whatever goal you set. If you are finding it hard to be consistent with content, that is uncomfortable. That is something you need to start to embrace and push through. And I'm going to come full circle in a moment. Just let me give some practical examples. If you are in a business and you find it very uncomfortable to sell on your stories, that is a thing that you need to start practicing and doing. If you are starting a new wellness, health, fitness journey and you find it very uncomfortable to go to group classes, but that's your only option, that's something you need to start doing. If you are trying to be better with your money and you find it very uncomfortable to track your money every day, which, by the way, you need to start doing. Track your money every day and looking at your bank accounts because it gives you anxiety. That's what you need to start doing. And I'll give one for relationships. If you find it very uncomfortable to sit down once a month with your partner and have a conversation about how we are meeting each other's needs, which, by the way, this is exactly what I do with my partner. And it doesn't have to be every month. Sometimes it comes up frequently, and then other months we're really good and we do that monthly check in. By the way, if you want me to do a podcast episode specifically on that, let me know. As we go into 2024, I'm taking a side step for a moment. As we go into 2024, I really want to start to speak about relationships more, not just romantic, but friendships, all of that, and cultivating deeper connections. So let me know, slide into my DMs if you want to hear more of that. But yes, if you are struggling to have uncomfortable conversations about meeting needs, that's something you need to do. So, circling back to my number one point, whatever you are finding uncomfortable in your life, you need to start actioning. And you're probably sitting here listening or watching and going, okay, Jess, that's way easier said than done. Actually, it's quite easy. You just need to start somewhere. And this is what my 1% of messy inspired action truly embodies. Like, truly embodies that when you are taking 1% of messy inspired action, it's normally going to be the uncomfortable things that you don't want to do. And those are the things that are truly going to start the momentum and you get better. I'm going to give you some personal examples. I've said this story a few times on the podcast, but if you haven't listened, before I started my business, yeah, it was before I started my business, I wanted to start, showing up on social media. This is when I was a personal trainer. This is when I was a gym manager. And I remember when I wanted to do my first Instagram live. I sat up my phone on the tripod. I was in my bedroom at the time. I had a white wall behind me, and it took me like just over an hour to actually start that. I did my makeup, I did my hair really nice, I dressed really nice, and I was just so scared and it made me really uncomfortable. But it's also something that at the time, lives were so different. I want them to bring back this version of live. Let me know in the comments below. You can slide into my DMs if you remember this, when Instagram lives would stay on your story as a separate section for 24 hours. Let me know if you remember that, because I wish they would bring back that setting. Anyway, at the time, that terrified me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be speaking live and it's going to be up there for 24 hours. Now I'm like, bring it back. But that's my point. I started, it was terrifying. That live, I think oh no, because it expired, I just had the biggest brain blank. It expired, so I can't even go look at it. But I'm sure if I looked back at it, I was speaking terribly. I wasn't speaking with a lot of confidence. And I probably wasn't speaking how I was on my latest live, which, by the way, if you haven't go watch, it's very juicy. Now, my point is that was so uncomfortable for me, but that has made me so much better at number one, not only just going live, but being able to speak on social media, being able to press that button on my phone, knowing it's going to potentially going out to thousands and thousands of people, and to be able to practice that to where I'm at today, where number one, I actually prefer going live because it's like this podcast recording. I can just keep talking. A story, you stop and start, you lose momentum. And I feel very comfortable showing up on social media. I had to start that work. I had to get very uncomfortable with showing up in that respect. And remember, when you're thinking about the things that are making you uncomfortable, you also want to just tune into, okay, what is the purpose behind overcoming this, right? You're not going to just do things that are uncomfortable just because they need to have a purpose. They need to move the needle in some way. That's one personal experience when it comes to business. Now, if I share one that it comes to, say, my relationships, I had to get really, really comfortable about expressing my boundaries with my partner. I came from a string of relationships that I was not good whatsoever with actually saying, hey, this is how I feel. I also don't like the way you're treating me or the way you're speaking to me or whatever it was. And this is what I feel about it. I was not good at that whatsoever. I've gotten so much better at being so unapologetic about my boundaries now, and that has taken years of practice. So, basically, to round up, point number one, you need to start doing the messy inspired action 1% every single day, but you need to start doing things that are making you uncomfortable because growth comes from the things that are uncomfortable. you can look at your life now and maybe it's good and maybe things are kind of moving slowly, but I promise you, your life will change dramatically in 6 to 12 months. If it's anything you listen to out of this list of four, it's this one. Your life will dramatically change in 6 to 12 months if you start doing the uncomfortable things. And in fact, it's what I see in my clients. And I say this often, they often surpass me in results because they have such a willingness to keep doing the uncomfortable. That is number one. Number two, the podcasts you listen to, the books you read, the YouTube videos that you watch, any self-help I guess resources that you are consuming, TikToks that you save, reels that you save, the carousels on Instagram you save, take action. Take one bit of action. So for example, you're listening to this podcast. I mean, this whole podcast episode is about taking action, but I actually want you to take at least one of these points and start actioning it straight away. This is the problem with the personal development, what would I call it, the personal development space, is we can just consume all this knowledge. We can consume whether it's about online business, money mindset, relationships, feminine masculine energy, cycle syncing, anything at all. But we have a problem of actually taking action. And I've spoken about this before on a podcast, and I can definitely do a brand new one. But what I will say is remember, your body doesn't like change, it's dysregulating, it doesn't like the uncomfortable. So it's going to do whatever it can to stop you from actually making that change, from actually taking the action. It's why so many of us listen to all of this, or we manifest in our journal, we create a vision board, we write all these to-do lists, and nothing gets done, and nothing changes. And it's because we actually aren't taking the action. So every podcast, YouTube video, book you read, whatever you consume, I want you to I want you to take action on the thing you're consuming, even if it's one point. Now, if you're listening and you're like, okay, Jess, I listen to like 8 podcasts a week and I read 2 books a month. That's a lot of things to take action. Strip back. There is no point in having all this knowledge and not taking action on it. Make a list of the things that you are learning and the things that really resonate. This is what I do. The things that truly deeply resonate, I will then take action on. There is a reason I have a couple of books that are my favorites. I've been reading, I read every single year, and I have done one of them I've been reading probably for 10 years, every single year. I will read. I'm a bit of an Audible girl now. However, in saying that, these particular books, I let me know in the comments if you want me to share these books, but these books I will actually still read. And I pick up something new every single year and I put it into action. And I put it into action into the way that I'm living life and how it resonates. So, whatever it is, strip back your knowledge, stop saving all of these reels and these TikToks and these posts, stop it. Just save one for the week. Maybe make that your goal. Save one on a Monday, whatever you consume on a Monday, and take an action point from there and do it for your entire week and see what starts to happen when you actually are changing the things you're doing. Number 3. Okay, this is a bit of a reflection point, and I recently did the podcast episode on reflecting and so point. But you need to ask yourself why you are struggling to commit to yourself. I went on my stories today and I was speaking about a lot of the time what I see in women. It's not often the money, it's not often the time commitment, it's not often, the logistics of what they want to invest in. It's often just the commitment to self. Especially when it comes to like a mentorship or a coaching or, buying a program, there is a commitment behind that. You are exchanging energy that basically is signaling, okay, I'm paying for this and now I need to show up for myself. And I haven't ever shown up for myself in this way. And this is just a side note, but whenever you make an investment into any coach, any mentor, any program, you need to understand what you are committing to. And again, I don't mean, yes, you need to know the logistics, the calls and all that. But this point of view I'm coming from, you need to understand the commitment of yourself. What are you putting into this to get the results that you are desiring? Hence, why you want to invest. I think that we struggle with knowing that committing to yourself is one of the biggest things that we can ever do. We are kind of, especially women, thrown down our throat, find a commitment, have a long term commitment, whatever way resonates with you. But I want you to start to think of the most important relationship you have, which is yourself. And I know that's so cliche, but it's not spoken about enough that the commitment to self is one of the most scariest things. I made a couple of months ago, I made a really big investment, and yeah, big as in money wise, big. But do you know what scared me the most? That I have to put in the time and effort and energy to change myself. And going back to what I said, change is uncomfortable. It's been so rewarding so far, but it's still been hard. It's still taken a hit on my ego. Sometimes I'm on a call with my coach. I'm the type of person, the way I like to get coached, like be blunt, be blunt. It's kind of the way I coach. So anyone that has been in my containers knows that I'm so loving, but I'm also blunt. I'm not going to pussyfoot around what's actually happening. This is why my clients get such amazing results. This is also why I'm so excited for my mastermind that is beginning January 8th. You have a month to get in your application. Will Mastery Mastermind, and I've kind of finished the start dashboard and what they have to do, their pre-work, their onboarding work before we begin in January. But that this is basically a mastermind for high achieving women to master their subconscious thoughts and to be able to regulate and manage their emotions. If you want a life that, number one, you have more freedom, you have more money coming into your business, or you are effortlessly promoting in your career, if you want to have more time with your kids, your family, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, if you want to do things for yourself and not feel stressed, not feel worried, not feel guilty, if you want to wake up excited and fulfilled and have the deep connections in your relationships, this is the mastermind for you. This is the mastermind that has been getting my clients results for nearly 5 years. And it's something that I was sharing some of the results on my story today. And I was like, wow, absolutely wow. The things that high achieving women can achieve when they have a specific roadmap to them. This is the thing, overall is like, I can teach you all these concepts and frameworks, but the reason that they work so well for my clients is because they are learning to take them on board and applying it to their life. And so, in saying that, I kind of went on a rant there, but what I wanted to really hone in on is asking yourself, why are you struggling to commit? What is it that you're actually scared of on the other side? What do you believe is going to happen? Do you believe that you're going to fail? Probably neutralize that. It's one thing I teach my clients to neutralize straight away. Yeah, you probably will fail. It's the law of polarity. And I think that when we are able to get super honest, we are able to learn more about ourselves. And in fact, one of the onboarding things that you need to do for Mastery Mastermind before the first call, there is a woman mastery grand plan. So you can have a plan, you can have a goal, but you need to have a plan of attack. And I finalized it this morning. Oh, and I'm smiling big. All of you on YouTube can see, and on the podcast listening, you can probably hear like I'm smiling big. I'm a little bit teary because this grand plan is something that I want all women to refer to every single year. And this is the way I make all of my trainings as timeless as fuck. So you can be in the mastermind January 2024 and then in January 2028 come back to these trainings. And I'm just so proud of this onboarding grand plan that I'm getting the women to do. It's so exciting. So ask yourself, and this is a big part of it and kind of why I went into that, is because all of the questions that they're going to be doing in the onboarding is really a it will help them define why they're doing what they're doing, where their struggles are, and how they can move forward. And then my last point that I want to share with you that has really, really helped me. And if you're looking for, probably out of all of these, the easiest thing to do is EFT tapping. EFT tapping on YouTube, there is amazing people. You can get it for free. I'm sure you can do a Google search. I know there are people, obviously coaches that specialize in this. EFT tapping is absolutely incredible to help clear away those cobwebs that are holding you back. It's a real practical thing that you can add into your morning or your night or your lunchtime routine whenever. It can be 30 minutes long, or it can be, I did one this morning and it was 5 minutes long. You have 5 minutes, and this is a way to energetically start to realize where you're still off a bit. I mean, this is a thing, right? With EFT tapping, and do your own research. I'm not going to go into it too much now, but with EFT tapping, you start to realize as you're tapping, what are your sensitive spots? What feels weird in the body? Like people who just say positive affirmations like I am rich and I am abundant and all that, if you don't if you don't get to the root of being able to actually make that real, your body's not going to believe it. Your body's going to reject it, and your body is subconsciously going to make you sabotage. This is why we get into sabotaging habits. If you struggle with self sabotage, I recommend of anything of this list, go and do EFT tapping, commit to it daily, do it as like a 30-day challenge. And it's something that for me has really brought to my attention the blind spots in my own business mindset, my money mindset, my relationship mindset. And it's allowed me to actually go within and reflect and be like, these are the areas that need work on. I think sometimes when we get really, really good on working on a certain area, we just want to focus on those areas, but you can't do that. You need to focus on the actual things that are holding you back. So, to put it in conclusion, do the uncomfortable things, the things that right now, if I was to ask you, okay, what scares you to show up in your business? What scares you to ask in your relationship? What scares you when it comes to your health? What scares you when it comes to your money? Those are the things, those uncomfortable things we need to start doing. We need to start taking action, because again, you can listen to this podcast and get a dopamine hit, but I'm hoping by tomorrow you are like, okay, I heard that I need to do something uncomfortable and I don't like selling on my story. So today I'm going to sell on my story. That's the attitude that I want you to have. Number two, anything that you are reading, anything you are listening to or consuming, number one, strip away, strip it all back, and then choose one thing. You can start whenever, but if you're starting on a Monday, listening to one podcast or reading one book, take something from that chapter, take something from that 30-minute podcast, take something from that TikTok reel that was 10 minutes and put it into action for the rest of your week. And then the last thing, EFT tapping. Go to YouTube, type it in, do it. Give yourself a 30-day challenge. I promise you, that has been one of the most beneficial tools I've used over the past few years. I fell off the bandwagon for a little bit and now I'm back on, and I'm like, why did I stop? Why did I stop? It's because I got lazy. And that's the thing. You need to bring yourself in and you need to realize, okay, I was getting uncomfortable doing that. So now I'm going to do it. But I hope you have enjoyed this podcast episode. If you have, I would absolutely love you. Share it on your story, tag me, slide into my DMs. I love to have a chat. I love to have a voice message back and forth. Leave a comment of what your favorite point was, what you're going to start implementing, and any podcast episode suggestions you want to see as we head into 2024. I'm just thinking of when I'm going to be recording podcasts. I'm just like got my phone up to look at the dates. There'll still be, I don't know if there'll be 2 a week over the next couple of weeks, but there's definitely going to be at least 2 more episodes before the end of the year. I'm going to love you all. I'm going to leave you, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.